Alright, you guys, what it is? Today I am back with another video. Now, granted, I have been kind of putting this video off for a little minute. And the main reason why is because, like I said, during the first chapters, like I said, Asta wasn't quite done with his fight just yet. Currently in the manga. So I didn't really want to make the video just yet. But now that I think the battles, at least Asta's portion of the battle is now pretty much over with, it's safe to say I can go ahead and scale this video now. So with that being said, because most of the stuff that I'm talking about is literally has not been shown in the anime yet, spoiler warnings ahead, you have been warned. Now, just to kind of clarify, you guys, I am scaling Asta, but not a full powered Asta, if you know what I mean. What I'm basically scaling is just Asta after the time skip, though I will kind of delve into certain stuff that happened in the last arc versus the Word Devil, just to kind of give you guys a little generalization on where Asta should be. One of those things is Asta should pretty much, after the evidence that I've kind of looked through after rereading the manga stuff, the fight between the Word Devil and then currently, Asta, after the time skip, his base form should be equal to, if not, I would say a little bit greater, as a matter of fact, because of some of the techniques he developed, as his two-horned devil form that he used when he fought the Word Devil when he finally activated his Black Divider. Asta, like I said, the reason why I say that Asta really should be around that level is because, one, for starters, he developed a lot more techniques such as anti-magic slashes, and being able to fly on the sword, and has much more control over his anti-magic. But not only that, just the final kind of like nail in the coffin, in my opinion, is it took Asta using two horns, using his two-horn form, plus having to wield it with both hands to be able to use Black Divider. But after the time skip, when he invades the Spade Kingdom base, he's actually able to use his Black Divider in base, which actually makes a lot of sense. Like I said, he's been training, and it would make sense that he would pretty much train his base form and should be equal to, if not greater than that, because that's simply a typical thing of shonen. For example, like I said, it makes sense he's been training that way. He can use stuff from before. It's kind of very similar to how Goku, if you remember, like the Resurrection F movie, after training with Whis, was able to fight Frieza in his final form and just base form, when, of course, on Namek, he needed his Super Saiyan form. So, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of shows how a character can train their base form and gain the multipliers on top as that way instead. Now, if you ever actually checked out the guidebook, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in there. But if you check out the guidebook kind of backs some of this stuff up as well. Just a little bit. It doesn't really go into the time skip, but it does talk about what happened before the time skip, such as earlier stuff in the manga. And one of the things that it's talking about is it explains some of the forms that they got, such as, Spirit Dive, Asta's Black form. Now, Asta's form was not given a actual multiplier, neither was Yuno's, but we do know that Black Asta is comparable to Yuno's Spirit Dive. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because in the guidebook, it states that Yuno's Spirit Dive form is a many times over boost in power. Now, granted, many times over is extremely vague, but I've seen people scale it, and even the fact that it's very comparable to Bleach, and the fact that Bleach creators and stuff are working on it. And I noticed that it does take the Bleach type of scaling. It makes sense that actually it will be anywhere between a 5 to 10 times boost in power, which makes sense. It was able to take Yuno to be in captain level, same thing as Asta. And because, like I said, Asta's Black form at the very beginning of the series, or just overall, I should say, is very comparable to Yuno in terms of his Spirit Dive form, it would make sense that, of course, Black Asta should, of course, get anywhere between a 5 to 10 times boost. Very beginning, but of course he masters his Black form, so it should make sense to be around actually a 10 times boost. But that's only a one-horned Asta. Okay. Later in the series, during the fight against the Word Devil, when Asta follows Lick and tries to essentially mimic him, because Lick does use the swords as him, he tries to focus all of his power and let the anti-magic truly flow through him, and by doing so, he gained another boost in power and gained himself a second horn that boosted his power and was able to allow him to even create a new spell known as the Black Divider, as we all see. Now, a lot of people may be thinking, well, how do you know it boosted and that's not just something he can use as a spell? Well, it actually makes a lot of sense, because that same two-horn Asta scales above Dark Elf Patri. Now, Dark Elf Patri is a powerful character, and it's the same as Patri, but after he gets corrupted more or less and given into the dark side, as you will, after his encounter with the Word Devil. And this Dark Elf Patri is then able to completely go on this kind of rampage and actually able to body both One Horn Black Asta and a Spirit Dive Elven boosted which kind of shows that it is some form of multiplier. And in fact, like I said, it really kind of benefits and shows that the multiplier is, though it's not a big gap, it's not like a huge multiplier, but it's still just some fact that it is a multiplier nonetheless. And it should be around a 2 to 5 times boost, considering that Spirit Dive and Asta in this fight anyway are comparable to each other. Are very comparable to each other in terms of speed, power, durability, and everything else. But Patri bodies both of them, meaning that it's almost like two Asta tier characters being defeated. So it has to be anywhere between a 2 to 5 times boost, considering the fact that when he achieves this Black Divider, even though it's uncontrollable, when the first Wither King Lumiere tries to help Asta, Asta hits him with the Black Divider one time, and he forces him to essentially almost like seals his magic. He even tells Cray, I won't be able to use magic. This same version of Wizard King Lumiere was clearly shown to be much stronger, considering how he was able to deal with the Word Devil compared to how Patri got bodied immediately. So it does stand to reason that Black Divider Asta would get that multiplier. It does have its own power boost or multiplier, however you want to put it, considering the fact that he's able to contend and actually somewhat be comparable to the first Wizard King, someone who easily scales above even Dark Elf Patri. So it being around anywhere between a 2 to 5 times boost in power is pretty much extremely common. Like, that's exactly where it should be. Then also, even though Poseidon doesn't have a lot of feats throughout the story, and I'm not really going to get into some of the other stuff like him, like Glutton, Charming, and all that stuff, because personally those are really just bottom feeder feats, considering Charming is nowhere near the power of even two-horn Asta, even in her hybrid form. But regardless of the situation, the next big opponent that he does face off against after this time skip does indeed go towards the great and powerful Dante of the Dark Triad. Now, like I said, Dante is supposedly he's definitely the leader, but he's also supposedly supposed to be the strongest amongst the Dark Triad, and it definitely shows when he makes his appearance known. For the most part, Dante is easily able to dispatch this Asta, by the way, who at this point, like I said, should be equal to his two-horn form. And then Asta even uses both the one-horn form and a two-horn form, and he's still nowhere near even a suppressed Dante's level. Like, he's not even using the Devil's Power yet, and he still can see his fodder. He doesn't even use the Devil's ability or Devil's Power, to go into his black form, if you will, until Ghost literally uses Mirror Brigade on Asta, causing 12 two-horned black Astas to come charging at Dante all at once. Now, when he does that, that is officially when Dante kind of like, okay, buddy, let's just calm it down here, and goes and uses 50% and absolutely bodies all 12 black Astas immediately. Like, he doesn't even, he still keeps his hand in his pocket. Like, he's not even trying. He's pretty much just like, okay, I can't deal with that with the power I was portraying, but here's 50% just to kind of knock you down. And he literally used that power and pins Asta, actually forces them out of his black form and just pins him there to the ground. Then when Vanessa attempts to save Asta, because she does have, she has Rouge, which allows her to use fate manipulation to essentially change anything that's happened to her comrades in terms of damage-wise. That is exactly when Dante decides, like, you are my woman, I'm not gonna lie. That gets a little pissed off and decides to use 60%. And during his talk with Asta, during the whole thing with, this, you need to embrace your darker side, and Asta trying to tell him no, he ends up saying, okay, I'm gonna force you to. Very similar to the Pain versus Naruto fight, and then he stabs Ghost with a sword, essentially, causing Asta to remember his past, or at least get a faint memory of the past, and allowing him to tap into a even greater form of power, though it doesn't have a full name, everyone just kind of calls him, you know, Berserk Asta. But it allows for Asta to essentially go berserk. He looks more demonic. He has a tail. He has another smaller wing, seemingly going out of it. He has his right side of his body is looking pretty damn demonic, and of course, he has a third horn. And with that form, obviously, should entail, of course, that he got more powerful. But just so you know, what I'm saying, but Tsubasa just kind of proved that to you, that Asta's getting stronger. The first thing that Asta does is immediately erase Dante's presence, erases his gravity spell in the area effect that it had, and battles Dante, and even manages to kind of get a little nick on him. And using, I'm assuming this Berserk Asta, even though he's Berserk, seems to have a bit more of his fighting faculties, is even able to, I'm assuming he used ki, though it's not explained. He just simply says, like, he knew where I would appear, but that's only something I think Asta using ki would be able to do. But he predicts Dante's movement and is even managed to put a small scratch on. Now, it doesn't really work. He's not as powerful as 6% Dante. Because as soon as Dante's like, bitch, he ends up giving him that good old-fashioned Grimjow beat down, if y'all remember that, and takes his hand out of his pocket and give Asta the good old pause. But still, nonetheless, it does kind of show that this Asta should be much more powerful than the two-horn 12 Astas that ended up charging at him before, considering Dante's now, got dealt with easily at 50%, and he ended up using 60% when he was fighting against this Berserk Asta, but still managed to put a scratch. Kind of implying that this Berserk Asta should easily have around a 13 plus times multiplier on top of his second form, considering, like I said, he was able to do it. Like I said, it's a pretty big boost, and it actually puts Asta literally around 260 times stronger than his base. And I know a lot of people are going to say, like, that's a pretty big number, but considering the fact that there are bleached writers on this and creators, and even the Espadas are able to boost themselves up to those 200 times their normal base with using Resurrections and Gran Rey Zeros, and even characters like in Dragon Ball Super, for example, doing the tournament power, characters like Goku and Vegeta, yeah, their power rose hundreds, if not thousands of times, their usual forms, you know what I'm saying, their base forms, and even in some cases, their blue forms, you know what I'm saying, such people like Set the Program, if you watch him, like, and other scaling, like, so it's not really that big of a jump, you know what I'm saying. So I really hope, like I said, it is kind of put in perspective just how powerful he is. To give it a kind of more broad sense, just to make it pretty simple, Asta should easily be, in terms of destructive capability, around Continental to Continental Plus at this point in his Berserk form, or in his two-horn form, with the third horn being more on the lines of possibly Continental Plus to even multi-continental in terms of overall destructive capacity. So, and obviously he's easily mastered the Fast and Light, but I feel like that doesn't need to be explained. But I really hope you all enjoyed this video. I will be doing more videos of Black Clover and other series later this week, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, you guys, I'll see you. Peace.